Hey everyone, welcome to the new project video. A few weeks ago, the famous YouTuber Dhruv Rathee launched his AI startup, AI Fiesta, which reached $3 million ARR in just 36 hours. AI Fiesta, where you can chat with multiple models on a single screen. This is the core functionality of the platform. In today's video, we are going to build this. We'll create the same user interface as AI Fiesta. Users will be able to turn models on or off. For this video, we'll be integrating three models: ChatGPT 5, Gemini and DeepSeek. By the way, if you are looking for more project ideas and want to build them yourself, check out frontendlab.io. Over 500 plus developers are working on the projects like full stack chat apps, machine coding challenges and more. You will be learning the skills that matters, helping you ace front-end interviews. Check the description below for all the resources you need to start building your first industry level project. If you want me to create part 2 of this video where we integrate login, sign up, payment gateway, database, models and more, then if this video gets 200 likes and 100 comments, then I will drop the part 2 of this video. So if you have not liked or commented yet, make sure to hit that like button and drop a comment below. We'll be writing industry level code, so if you want to integrate more models, you can easily reuse the same component with a different API key and request. And not only that, we'll be deploying the application on Vercel, so you can easily share it with your friends and family to try out. Let's start by creating our Next.js app. So I am on the Next.js.org website, and from here I will copy this command. And in VS Code I have already created the FLAI Fiesta directory, and here I will run this command. Would you like to use TypeScript? No. Yes. Lint, Tailwind CSS? Yes. Would you like your code inside a source directory? Yes. App router? Yes. Turbo pack? No. Import alias? Yes. Configuration? Yes. Now what does this command will do is it is currently installing all the packages. Like you can see here, it is installing React DOM, Next, Tailwind CSS and so on. So now we have successfully created our Next.js app. Now let's spin up our server. So npm run dev. So it will run our app in port 3000. Our app is now running on the localhost 3000. Now this is the default code which Next.js gives. So first thing what we will do, we will clear out this default code, this boilerplate code, and then we will start with our application. So I will go here in page.js and I will cut all of this code, and I will create one simple app which will return a div. I will default export this app, and now here you can see we have this app rendered on the screen. First thing is I've already created the clone of the AI Fiesta website. So here you can see this app is running on the localhost 3001 port, and our app is running on the localhost 3000. So this is the app which we have to create, and I have created already. So if I go to aifiesta.ai website and I will click here login, then you can see this looks very much similar. Like we have the ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek model, same as here. Now let's first go through this app and then we will start building our. So here you can see we have the sidebar, then here we have the chat section, and for each chat section we have the model like ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek. Then from here we can switch on and off the model for every model. Then from here we'll have all the model closed except the clicked one. Then here we have the chat input. First thing what we will do, we will first build this sidebar and then we will move forward. To create sidebar, first what I will do, in the app I will create one folder components, and in components I will create one component sidebar.jsx, and let's create one simple component sidebar which will return one div saying sidebar, and I will default export this component. Now in page.js I will call this component sidebar. So let's go into this component sidebar and let's think how we will create this component. So if we go here, then you can see first this is the width of the sidebar and the height is the screen height. So first we will set the width and height of the sidebar. So here what I will do, first I will give the background color to red 500, then I will set width to 30 rem and height to screen. Now let's see the result. So you can see here we have this sidebar. Now the width is more, so let's reduce the width. Let's keep it 20 rem. Let's keep width to 64, which is 16 rem, and I will write here min width to 64 and max width also 64. So the width will be between 64 and not more, not less. So now here is our sidebar. Then what we will do, first we will give the background color to sidebar to this color. So for that I will go to global.css, and here I will remove this background and foreground, and I will paste this color. So in our entire app we are going to use all of these colors, and don't worry, in the description you will find the source code from where you will get all these colors. Now for the background color of the sidebar we are going to use this code gray. So I will replace this red with code gray. Now let's see the result. So you can see the background color is not appearing. Let's see what happens. I have placed all of these colors in the root. We have to place inside the theme. So I will write @theme, and I will remove all of this color from root to theme, and I will remove this root. Now let's check. Yes, our color is now visible. Now next what we have to do, we have to first create this icon and title of the website. So let's go back to VS Code, and here we will create one span tags, and we will write AI Fiesta, and then I will take one image. Let's take normal image of our HTML, and in the source I will paste this link, which is the logo image. Then the height and width will be 10, which is 2.5 rem. Now let's check. Yes, the icon is appearing. Now what we have to do, we have to keep the AI Fiesta title here. So for that what I will do, I will move this span tag to below image, and here I will take one div, and I will wrap this image and span inside this div, and let's give some class to this div. So first let's give background to white to see what is currently rendering on the screen. So you can see this is appearing like this. So what we will do, first we will remove this background color, and then we will write flex items center, justify center, and gap of 0.5 rem, which is gap of 2. Yes, then we will write text to white. Let's increase the gap to 1 rem. Yes, and padding of 6, which is 1.5 rem, and let's replace this center with start. Yes, I think it is looking fine now like this. Just we have to give the different font and different color. So for that, text alto and text font size will be XL, font to bold. Yeah, I think it's now fine. It is looking same like this. Now we will create this new chat button. So for this, here we will take one div and we will take one button plus add chat, not add chat, new chat, and let's see the result. Yeah, the button is appearing here. Now let's give some CSS to this button. So first what I will give background color to white, text to black, then text size will be 14 pixel, then we will give flex, items center and justify center and some gap, and I will also give width to this button as full. Now let's see. Currently it is looking something like this. Let's give some padding, y-axis to 2 and x-axis to 4, and we will also give some rounded border radius to 2xl. Let's check. Yeah, it is looking something like this. Reduce the border radius to xl. Yeah, I think it is fine now. Also the padding is not looking good, so let's give some more padding. So what we will do, we will remove this div and we will put this div here, and inside this div what we will do, we will give some class. So flex call, items start, justify center, padding of 8 and gap 6. Now let's check. The padding is more, let's reduce the padding. So I will give padding to 6. Let's remove this padding and let's check. Yeah, I think now it is looking good. Also let's give this cursor pointer to this button. So here I will write cursor pointer, and we will also give some hover color. So on hover we will give background white divided by 90. Now let's check. Yes, it is good. Now let's check with our created website. So I think the border radius is less and the gap is also less. The gap is more. So let's increase the gap and the border radius. For border radius let's keep it LG. I think LG will be fine. Yes, so I think it is now looking good. Now we have created this upper section of the sidebar. Now what we will do next, now we will create this divider and this projects and plus button and the chats. So for this what we will do, after this div I will create another div and I will give some tailwind here. So I will give width to full, height to 0.5, then background color to red. Now let's check. Okay, then we will replace the divider color with this color. We will replace the red with mine shaft, which we have created in our global CSS, and we will give margin top to 3. Now let's check. Yeah, it is looking good. Now let's create the projects. So first I have taken all the icons which we are going to use in our entire app in the public folder. So all of these icons will be provided in the description section or in the source code. First what we will be doing, first I will create one div here, and here in the div I will create one span tag projects, give this some padding. So I will give y-axis to 4 and x-axis to 6, and let's give some class to this span tag as well. So I will give text font size to small, color I will give alto. Yes, then I will take one button. So you can see the plus icon is the button. So here I will take one image from Next.js, and the image source will be this add icon image. So add icon from public / plus .svg. Let's rename this to plus icon. Then we will place this plus icon in the source, and the width will be 16 and height will be 16, and we will give some class to this button as well. Rounded to full, background white, text black, and some padding. Let's put it to. Now let's check. So yeah, here we have plus icon. We will give height and width to 6, and here I will not use alto color, I will use noble. Let's check. So it is not coming in the center. So for this we will be using flex, item center, justify center. Let's check. Yeah, it is coming in the middle. The plus icon is coming in the middle. Now let's give this class to this project's title. So I will give the font to medium, and this div will also having class. So flex, then item center, justify between. Now let's check. Yeah, I think it is now looking the same as this. Now let's create these chats. So for chats I will be creating another div, and here I will take one span tag chats, and the classes for this will be, first I will give the color noble, 12 pixel font size, and the font weight will be medium, and I will give class to this div as well, the flex call, items start, and justify center. And I will also giving padding. Y-axis padding will be 4 and x-axis will be 6. Now let's check. I think it is looking good, the chats like this. So when we will be creating our chats, all the chats title will be stored here and will be visible here. So if I show you here, suppose if I ask something, then the title, the prompt will be stored here. So for that we will come back later how to show the chats title here. Currently we are like simply creating the UI part, then we will move to the logic. So now we have created the header part, the new chat button, projects and chats. Now let's create this card. I will hide this Next.js button. Now let's create this card, free plan card, upgrade plan button, and these settings. To create this card, first I will put this entire div, the entire part inside this div. So this div contains all the upper items. Now for demo, let's put some content in the span tag. Let's say free card, and let's check the result. Yeah, so free card is now coming here. So first let's hide this button, and you can see what we have to do here. We have to place this free card to the bottom, and we have multiple options to do this. First we can give this position to absolute and can stick here, or we can give the margin top, but I think it is not good to do this. The best way to do this using flex. So what I will do, first I will make this div as flex, items start, and justify between. So now if you see, I have to also give flex to column. We don't require this, let's remove. Yes, and here I will remove this, and I will create one div. I will give padding to 4, then I will create one more div, and let's see what we have to do. So first we have to create this free plan, then this messages used, and then the progress bar. Let's do this first. So we will take one span free plan, then let's give 1 by 3 messages used, and then here we will have the progress bar. So I will come back to this later. First let's create our card. I have added all of this class. First we have the rounded LG, then the background color clay. I have made this div flex, item start, given some padding, and I have also given some border, and also I have given the flex to call. All of this will be rendered as column wise. Let's give class to this free plan. So we'll write text sm and text noble, and for this one text sm and text white. Now let's check the result. Yes, now you can see this card is looking similar to like this one. We have to change the color, text white here and text noble here. Let's make this sm to access. Now let's create a progress bar. So for progress bar we are going to use the Shadcn progress. So here I will search progress Shadcn UI. Then I will go to this documentation of Shadcn, and from here we will copy this command and we will run in our project. This will add the progress component in our code. So now it is asking you need to create a components.json file to add components. So simply press enter and select neutral color, and it will create automatically, it will create the components.json file in our code. Components.json file is the Shadcn will use this configuration for Shadcn components. Like it will fetch all the codes from this schema, the style, the RSC, the TSX and the Tailwind. So you can see here we have given the Tailwind CSS path, source, app and in our global CSS. So let's verify this app and then in global CSS. So if your global CSS path is different, then please verify this and replace with your correct path. And you can see we have given the base color to neutral. Now let's move forward, and here in the components folder you can see it has created one file progress.jsx. Now what we will do, we will refactor here. So I will copy this component code, and in the components I will create another folder UI, and in UI I will create another file, another component progress.jsx, and I will paste the code here, and then we will delete this components folder. Now you can see in the components folder we have created this UI folder, and in the UI folder we have this progress bar. So why I have done this? Because all the Shadcn code will go inside this UI folder, so that we can differentiate which is our component and which is the Shadcn component. Now let's simply call this progress bar here. Let's replace this comment with the progress from this, and remember not from Radix UI, from here ./UI, our UI folder path. Now let's save it. Let's check. I think the CSS is not loading, so let's check what went wrong. And before, if you are getting some error because of this image tag, then remember to put the alternate text as well. So for what we are going to do, we will kill this terminal, and remember this step, we will delete this .next folder from here, and we will run our app again. Now let's reload. Now you can see it is working. So remember, if the CSS does not load, or if your apps breaks like this, then just don't panic, just kill the terminal, then delete the .next folder, and then again rerun the app. Now I will hide this icon again, and you can see, if you see here, we have the progress bar, but it is not currently visible because we have not given any background color and the width. So let's fix this. First I will give value to 50, and I will give the background color to Oxford blue, margin top to 3. Now let's check. Yeah, it is visible now. This color to white. So let's go to this component, and here you can see we have this primary. Let's replace this with white. Yeah, you can see now our progress bar color is white. This is the benefit of using Shadcn components. Like, you have the code, you can like mutate, you can do anything here, and this Shadcn uses Tailwind CSS, so it becomes very easy to modify the components. So yeah, we have created this free plan card. Now let's create this upgrade plan button. So for this, again we will take button here, and inside the button first we have to take this icon. So for this I have the icon already. Import pro icon from // in the public folder /pro.svg. now same thing we are going to do here. We will copy this image, we will paste and replace the source with pro icon with the alternate text. Let's give background color to white, width full, flex, item center, justify center, gap of 1 rem. So here we have to take one span tag, and let's write upgrade to pro. Upgrade to pro, not upgrade plan. Upgrade plan. Now let's give some padding and border radius to our button. Rounded MD, I will give padding this much, the 2.5 and 4. Now let's check. Yeah, I think it is looking good. Let's give some margin. Let's give margin top 4. This means 1 rem. And also let's give class to this upgrade plan. So I will give text to SM and font medium. Let's check. Yeah, I think it is good now. It's looking like this. Now let's create this part, the user icon settings and this sidebar close drawer icon. So for this, again we will create one div here, and we will give class padding to 4. Then here we will have the user icon. Then after we have this span tag settings, and then here we'll have the drawer icon. So now let's replace this comment with the real icons. Import the icon, public folder /user.svg, then the hide icon /hide.svg, and let's copy this image, user icon, same here, hide icon. Let's replace this alt text with user and drawer icon. I think I have written here hide. It's not hide, it is drawer icon. So drawer, here drawer. Yeah, you can see this drawer icon. Now let's give some styles to this div. Flex, item center, justify between, and padding of 3 and y-axis 4. Let's make it 4 and 3. It is not visible currently because we have this black font, and you can see our icon is also black because we have used the user icon. I also have another icon, hide icon, and we are going to use this icon for our user. So I think this is white. Yes, we have the user icon, but the color is black, so we are going to use this icon. Now let's give some class to settings, text white and SM. And what we are going to do, we will put this image and settings inside this div, and we will give some class. So flex, item center, justify center, and gap of 2. So let's increase the gap to 4. Yes, and we have to give some margin. So for margin, what we are going to do, we will not give margin or padding again. we will wrap this, we will cut this div here and we will put the div inside this div. Now let's check the result. Yeah, you can see it's automatically have the padding. So now let's check with our website. I think we have to give some margin top and then we are good to go. Margin top to 2. You can see now the sidebar is looking similar to our websites and as well this AI Fiesta. Now let's create this chat section component. Here in chat section, first we will create this chat section header. We can toggle the model on and off, and we can also hide all this model using this button. So now let's create this all functionality in our chat section component. So first thing what we are going to do, first we will set the height and width and background color of our parent div. So let's go to VS Code, and here where I am currently in page.js, and here we are calling this sidebar component. Now I will add some Tailwind classes to this parent div. So I will write flex, then height will be screen which is 100 VH, background color will be code gray. Let's remove the width for now and let's check. You can see we have this background color which is matching with the sidebar. Now let's go back to VS Code, and here I am currently in the page.js. So now what I will do, in the components folder I will create another component. I will call it chat section.jsx, and here we'll create this chat section component which will return simply one div saying chat section. I will default export this chat section component. Now first let's call this component here chat section. Now let's check. I will call this component after sidebar. Now let's check. Yes, you can see here we have this chat section component. Now let's modify this component so that it will look like real chat section. We will go into this component, and first thing what we have to do, first we have to design our header and then body. So I have given this class, the width will be screen, height full, and I have given the border left and right, and the border color will be mine shift. So now here inside this div we are going to create the header. So I will create one div, and then to this div I have given some classes. So the background color I have given the code gray, I have given border bottom, and the border bottom color will be mine shift, same as the parent, flex, item centers, justify between, and some padding and text color. Now inside this div I will take another div. I will add some class, so flex, item center, justify center, and some gap. And then here first we will take one image and we will give the source later on, and here I will take the span tag, and here we have to give the our model name. So I will give ChatGPT 5. Let's check the result. So here on localhost 3000, so you can see the title is coming ChatGPT 5, but currently we don't have the icon. So for icon, let's create one utils folder in our app, and then we will create one file app.constants.js. So in this file we will declare all our app constants which we are going to use in our entire app. We will not use directly string here, we are going to use the string using our variables. I will create one constants ChatGPT image URL, and this is the image URL, and I will export this ChatGPT image URL. Now we can use this image URL here. So ChatGPT image URL from utils app.constants. Now let's check the result. So yeah, you can see now we have the ChatGPT icon with the title. Also, let's increase the height and width of the icon. Height will be 1 rem and width will be 1 rem. So let's check, no differences, but yeah, we will use the 1 rem height and width. Now we will create this switch. So for switch like this, we are going to use the Shadcn switch. So again here I will search Shadcn switch. I will go to this link and you can see we want this switch. So to install, I will copy this command and let's go to a VS Code, and here simply I will paste this command. OK to proceed, and now this will install switch component in our code. So you can see it has successfully installed and it has created one file. So let's check. So in components you can see there is another components file. So you know what we are going to do, we will copy this code and directly we will delete this folder, and then in UI we will create another component switch.jsx, and we will paste the code here. Now let's use this component. So after this div I will create another div, and here I will use that component switch. And remember, whenever you will write the Shadcn component name, you will be auto suggested from Radix UI. So don't import the Radix UI component, always import our component which is there in the UI folder. So I will click enter and it will import from our UI. So always check the path from where you are importing the component. So let's close this and let's check on our website. So you can see here we have our switch component which is working, but currently we have to give some background color and set this position so that it will be appear here. So for that, what I am going to do is, first let's close this terminal and I will add some classes: flex, item center, justify center, and some gap. Change the color of this background. I will make this to white. Now let's check the result. Yes, the background color changed, but now the thumb is not visible. So you can see here we have the black color for the thumb. So let's go back, and here we will change the background color of thumb to black. Now let's check. Yes, you can see now it is good. Now let's place this icon. So for this icon I will create one image from Next.js, and for icon I have already have the icon in the public folder. So I will write chat icon and here chat.svg. Now we will pass this icon as source, the width of 18 and height of 18, and we will give some class which is just cursor pointer. Now let's check our icon is visible here. Let's check what error we are getting. Yes, missing alt property which is alternate. So let's add that. So I will add the alt as chat icon. Now you can see we have created this chat section component. Now we want this component 3 times, like for Gemini and for DeepSeek. And before that, let's increase the gap between this icon. You can see here we have more gap. So let's make it to 4. Yeah, now it's better. So to create this component for Gemini and DeepSeek, what we are going to do, let's simply call this component 2 more times. Now we have this component called 3 times. So if we check here, you can see we have created this component 3 times, but currently we have the title icons all similar, but yeah, we can change this part later. Created the chat section, and for the body part we are going to change the color to this color. So to give the color of the body, first what we are going to do, first we will create another component, and we will call this chat with input.jsx. What's the motive to create this component is, here we are going to put the chat section component, and here we are going to also call the input component which we are going to create in future. So let's create this component chat with input, simply return div, and from in page.js we will move this chat section to here. I will export this component, export default chat with input. Call this component here chat with input. Here I will give the background color to gray 2. Now let's check the result. Yeah, we are getting some error, chat section is not defined. Yeah, we have not imported the chat section, so let's import it. Let's check now. So currently it is not working. So what we are going to do here, let's add some CSS. We will give flex and width to full. Yes, it is working fine. Now what we are going to do first let's check if it is scrolling. It should not scroll horizontally. So let's go back, and in chat section, instead of width screen, we will give width full and height to screen. Now let's check. So yes, you can see now it is not scrolling. Let's make this header dynamic. So for this, what I am going to do, I will pass the props to this component. So here I will receive the props as model name, then image URL. For this, like we will have the image URL dynamic, then model name image URL. So I will replace this image URL and this ChatGPT 5 to model name. Now let's cut this ChatGPT image URL and I will import here, and from here I will pass the model name to ChatGPT 5, then the image URL will be ChatGPT image URL. Now let's copy paste this 2 more times, and I will change the title from ChatGPT 5 to Gemini, and let's keep this as ChatGPT and Gemini and DeepSeek. So you can see we have the ChatGPT, Gemini and DeepSeek. So for the image part, what we are going to do, so for that we'll create one const Gemini image URL, then DeepSeek image URL. So here we have this Gemini image URL. I will export this, and as DeepSeek image URL I will export this as well. And in the chat with input, here we will call the Gemini image URL and DeepSeek image URL. So you can see all of these images URLs are coming from our app constants, which is in the utils folder. Now let's check. So yes, now I think it's looking good. For ChatGPT we have the ChatGPT icon, for Gemini we have the Gemini icon, and for DeepSeek we have the DeepSeek icon. Now let's work on this part. Here you can see if I press this switch, then you can see we have this type of UI, the ChatGPT icon and this icon. So using this button we can open this chat section. In this chat with input, I will create one state and I will name it model visible and set model visible. So it will be use state, and here we are going to create one object and we will have the visibility for every model. It is giving error, you are importing. Yes, we have to use here as use client because we are importing the use state. Now this error is gone. So think why we have to create this state and what we are going to do in that state. So first thing is clear that we have to manage this UI. If this chat section is closed, then we have to show different UI. If it is open, then we have to show this UI. So, and we have to do this for every chat section. So if we create only one state variable, then if I press this, then it will be closed for all the chat section. We want each chat section to close and open independently. So for this, what I will do, I will have visibility state for every chat section. So I will name this as ChatGPT visible as true. Then let's name it only ChatGPT, then Gemini to true, then DeepSeek to true. So why I have given this true? Because initially all our chat section will be open. Then what I will do, I will pass this model visible state here as a props and set model visible as well. Now let's copy this part and paste for all the chat section. We will receive this props as model visible and set model visible. First what we are going to do is, first we will take the key of the model visible. So how we are going to take the key? So if you remember, we have named the model name to ChatGPT, Gemini and DeepSeek. If we lowercase this, then it will become the key. So that's why I have given this name. If you want to give the another name, then you can pass another props as well, and you can name this as a key, and then you can have the another model name and you can name it as ChatGPT 5 or anything. But here for simplicity, I am keeping this as ChatGPT. Model name dot to lowercase, and we can check if it is visible or not. Is visible equals to model visible of key. If is visible, then simply return one span tag saying model name visible, else this div will be written. We have to pass the check to is visible and not check, it is checked, on checked change. What this will does is, whenever the state of the switch changes, this handler will be called. So we will call handle checked change, and let's define this function here, handle checked change. So this will be a simply arrow function. Set model visible to previous, and what we are going to return here, first we will simply return the previous, and then what we will do, key, let's name it as model key, it's make more sense. So model key, and also let's name this handle checked change to handle toggle visibility. Let's rename this function name, and for model key the value will be model visible of model key, and I will use here the not operator. So if it is true, then it will become false, if it is false, it will become true. So now let's check the result, and before checking we have to name this as model key. Now let's check. We don't have the chat section. Yes, because we are checking if it is visible, we have to write here not. If it is not visible, then we have to return this span tag. So now let's check. Yes, now let's switch off this ChatGPT. So if I do this, now you can see we have this title ChatGPT visible, and suppose if I do this for DeepSeek, then DeepSeek visible. So you can see we have this type of UI. Just we have to add the icon and the open button, so that from there we can open this chat section. Here I have created two div. I will explain. The first div I have created with the width of 10 rem. Then I have given flex, item center, flex call, justify start. Then I have given some border right and left, and as usual we are giving the border color as mine shaft. And then here in the child div I have given the background color, width, padding, flex, item center, justify center. Then this div will be column and some gap. Now here I will create one image, and the source image URL height will be 32 pixel and width will be 32 pixel. Let's give alt tag alt model icon. Then I will take another image, and the source will be open chat icon. I will take this open chat icon from public / open chat.svg. So you can see here we have this open chat icon. So we are going to use this icon. Now let's pass open chat icon, and then the height will be 16, width 16, and cursor pointer. Now let's check the result. So you can see it is looking good. We have the ChatGPT icon and this icon which we are going to use to open this chat section. Also we are getting some error. Let's reload the page. Yeah, so to do this logic, I think we are getting some error for alt property. So let's add here alt open chat icon. So you can see I am also naming the icon name as, so that we can understand what does this icon do, like open chat icon. So it is used to open the chat. So you can also name the icons in this way as well. So now what we are going to do, we will simply call this handle toggle visibility on click. Now let's check if it is working or not. Click, the ChatGPT chat section is opened. If I close, yes, it is closing. And before, let's add the cursor pointer to our switch. I will add class cursor pointer. Let's refresh this page, and if I click here, then the ChatGPT is closed. If I click again, then it is opened. Let's check for Gemini. Yes, it is closed. Then if I click again, it is open. Let's check for DeepSeek. It is closed. And you can also see how our layout is grabbing this space. DeepSeek is closed, then the ChatGPT and Gemini is taking the equal space. And if I open, then all the three models are taking the equal space. So suppose if I close this Gemini, then you can see here the ChatGPT and here the DeepSeeks, like this, the AI Fiesta. If I close this, then you can see it is taking this available space. Now let's move forward. Now we are going to build the logic for this part. So what this icon does is, you can, if I go to this website chat.aifiesta.ai, if I click this button, then you can see all the chats are closed. Then if I click again, then all the chats are open. So if I do for Gemini, then all the chats are closed except the clicked one. So we are going to build this logic. First let's focus on the first part. So in the first part, what we are going to do, if I click, then all the chats should close and only this ChatGPT chat section should open, and it should take all the available space. I will go back to VS Code, and here I will write one function, handle open single chat. I will call this function here on click. So let's keep one console log to check. So you can see check here is printing. Let's think what we have to do here. So we have to close all the chats except the clicked one. So to do this, we have the model visible. So what we can do from here, we can iterate in this object, and we can make all the model to false except the clicked one. Yes, I think that will work. So let's do it. First, what we have to do, first we will call this function as like this model key, so that if we pass the model key here, then we'll get to know which model is pressed, so that we will not close pressed model and we will close all the model which will not match this model key. Then what I will do here, I will iterate const key in model visible, and before this I will create one variable here, current model state, and I will spread the model visible, so that here we will have the previous state and we will loop in this state, and we will make current model state of key to false. And before making this as false, we will add one condition here, that if key is not equals to model key, then execute this line, else we will not make the false for the current model. Now let's set the model visible to current model state. If I click on ChatGPT, then yes, you can see the Gemini and DeepSeek section is closed and the ChatGPT is open. So now let's refresh and let's check for Gemini. Yes, the ChatGPT and DeepSeek is closed and we have the Gemini, and they also taking the full space. Now let's check for DeepSeek. Yes, it's working for DeepSeek as well. Now if I click this button, then it opens the clicked chat and it closes all the chats except the clicked one. Now if I click again, then nothing happens. So what we have to do here, if I click this button again, then it should open the closed chats. So let's see how we can achieve this. Let's go back to VS Code and let's see what we are currently doing. Checking if the key is not equals to model key, then we are closing the chats. First we will check if the only single chat is open, and if it does, if the only single chat is open, then we will open all the remaining chats as well. So I will write here, is this single chat open equals to object dot values model visible. So what it will does, let's print is this single chat open variable. Now if I click this button, then you can see we are getting the array of truth values. So you can see we have the true for all the chats. What object.values does is it gives you the array of the values. So here in chat with input, you can see for every property we have some values, like for ChatGPT we have true, for Gemini true, and for DeepSeek true. So it wraps all this value into array so that we can iterate here. Now I will iterate dot filter boolean dot length is equals to 1. I have the array from this object dot values, and then I am filtering out all the false values. So you can see I have passed here boolean. Boolean means here if it is true, then it will be written, else if it is false or null or undefined, then it will be filtered out. And then I am checking is the length of this array is 1. If it is, then means we got our single open chat. So if I print this, let's check. If I click here on Gemini, so you can see we are getting false, and if I click again, then we are getting true. Means when we get true, means there is only single chat open and all the chats are closed. I will add here condition, if is this single chat open, then we will do something here, else I will wrap this for loop in else, and here what I will do, I will iterate again in the current model state and simply I will do current model state of key is equals to true. So let's check and I will explain what here we are doing. If I click on Gemini, then yes, it is opening and all the other chats are closed. Now if I click again, then you can see all the closed chats are now open. Let's check for DeepSeek. Yes, it is working. Let's check for ChatGPT. Yes, it is working. How this is working is, what we are doing here, first we are checking is this single chat open, means there is in the chat section there are 3 chat section, so in that we have only single chat is opened, means all the other chats are closed. Then what we are doing, we are looping through all the chats, we are marking as true, and then we are setting the model visible to current model state, which will make all the chat open, means all the values will become true. So see, if I print here current model state, so initially if I click, see the current model state, ChatGPT is false, means the ChatGPT section is closed. DeepSeek is false, means the DeepSeek is closed, and Gemini is true, means there is only single chat section which is open. So if I click again, then what do you think what will happen? We will have the value is this chat only open is true, because we will iterate through this object, not this object, but we will have the array of false, false and true. So we'll have the one truth value. Then if this condition is true, then this part will execute, and what it is doing, it will make all the value of the chat section to true. So it will make ChatGPT from false to true, DeepSeek from false to true. Now see, if I click again, all the property becomes true. Like for ChatGPT, previously it was false, now it is true. DeepSeek was false, now it is true. Like you can see here in the AI Fiesta, it is working same as ours. I will create another file in components folder, chat input.jsx. I will create this component chat input, which will simply return a div saying chat input. I will export this component. Let's call this chat input component here, and first let's give some Tailwind classes, class name. So what, and first I will wrap this chat input inside one span tag. Let's first check the result, then I will explain like what I have given all of these classes. So you can see we have this chat input component here. So first, like I have given the border and the border color mine shaft. So you can see this border is coming because of that class. Then I have given some border radius to 2xl, background color to code gray. Then I have given the position to absolute, and I have given the bottom to 5. From right I have given -12 rem. From here I have given the -12 rem. Then I am doing transform and translate to x. X is 1/2. The input will always be in center. Then I have given the width to 3xl, height to 20, and then I have given the flex, item centers and justify center. Then I will create here one input placeholder. Let's see what placeholder we have to give. Ask me anything, and we are going to give some class here as well. First we will give the width to 11/12, which is 91%. Then I will give some padding from left, and then I will give the text color to white. Also give the input type to text. Let's check here in localhost 3000. The input also have the outline, so let's remove this outline to none. Let's remove this padding, we will give this later. And now I can type here. We have to also add the button like this one, and you can see currently this button is disabled, and if I type anything then this button is enabled. Let's make this. Here I will take one button, and in button I will create one image from Next.js. For source we have the icon. Let's pass this icon. Then the width will be 16, height will be 16, cursor will be pointer. Give the alt tag to send icon. And now what we are going to do, first we will create one state, user text, use state, and it will be initially it will be empty, and here inside value I will pass user text, and on change I will set the user text to e.target.value. So all the user typed text will be stored in the user text, so that here we can use this for our button to enable and disable. So currently you can see we have this button, and if I type anything, then all of this text will be stored here. Now I will give some class to this button. First I will give the background to ocean green, then padding and border radius to 2xl. Let's make it 2md and increase the padding to 3. Now it is looking similar. Let's also give some padding for this input. So I will here add padding left to 2. And now what we have to do first, you can see currently the button is enable and user have not typed anything in the input box. We will make this button disable if user have not typed anything. So for this, first I will wrap this class inside CLSX. What is this CLSX? We have this library installed with Tailwind. What this does is, using this CLSX we can conditionally add the Tailwind classes. So here I will write user text dot length is 0, then we will do something else, we will add some class here. So if the user text length is 0, then we will add the opacity to 50 and the cursor will be not allowed. So cursor not allowed. Also let's add here the cursor pointer. User have typed anything, then the cursor pointer class will be added. Else if the user text is length is 0, then we are doing opacity to 50 and cursor not allowed. Then here we will also disable this button. So for disabling this button we will write if the user text dot length is 0. So it will return true if the user text is 0, else it will return false. So here the same class we will apply. We will wrap this inside CLX, and here we will check if the user text dot length is 0, then cursor not allowed, else cursor pointer, and we will remove this default class. Now let's check if this is working. So you can see currently we hover on the button or on the parent container, it is working fine, and if I type anything, then we have the cursor pointer. Now next what we will do, if user have typed anything here, suppose I am searching what is JavaScript, and if user click this button, the send message button, then first we will clear this text and all the text or the prompt we will show in this chat section. So let's do this. I will go in page.js, and here I will create one state, user prompts, set user prompts, and it will be a use state and it will be a array, and we will pass this user prompts to this sidebar. I will come back to this later why we are passing here, and this setter function will be passed in chat with input. So first let's receive this in sidebar. Here I will receive this user prompts, and in chat with input I will receive this setter function, set user prompts. Let's double check it if I have not made any typo. Set user prompts, set user prompts and user prompts. user prompts. Let's check in sidebar user prompts. Yes, in chat with input we will pass this set user prompts to this chat input, and we will use this chat input here. So what we will do here, on click this method will be called handle send prompt. I will create this method handle send prompt. You are importing a component that needs use state. Yeah, we have to do use client in our sidebar. Here I will write use client, and we have to also write this in chat input use client, and here as well. So I think we have written here as well in the page.js, because we are here we are using this use state. Now if I open the console, let's add a print statement here. I will print user text. Currently we can't press this button, but if I write something here, let's say what is JavaScript, then you can see automatically this button's now enabled. So if I click, then we are getting this what is JavaScript. If I, let's say if I write some raw data, then we have this. If I write what is React, then you can see we are getting all of these user typed prompts. So we will show all of these prompts in these chats, and if user clicked the send button, then we will clear this prompt as well. So let's do this. Here first what I will do here, first I will set the user prompts return previous, and then I will pass here the user text. We can also simplify this, write like this, like previous, and then it will simply return the previous with the user text. And let's remove this, and then we will make the user text to empty string. In the sidebar I will print this user prompts console.log user prompts. Now let's check. So initially if I type what is JavaScript, and if I press, now you can see the what is JavaScript prompt is erased from the chat input with the empty string, and in the user prompts array we have this what is JavaScript. Now let's search what is React, and you can see we have what is React. Now what we have to do, we have to just show these prompts in the chats. So let's go back to our sidebar component, and here we will iterate through these user prompts and we will return JSX. Here after the chats we will write one div, and I will add some class to this div, class name, and I will add this class. You can see we have added the no scroll bar class, which we are going to define in our global CSS. Like currently there is no Tailwind class which is no scroll bar, so we will define this class in our global CSS. Then just we are doing flex justify start, flex column, we have given some gap, then we have set the height of these chats, and then we have given the overflow y to scroll, so that it will have the fixed height and we can scroll. User prompts dot map, then we will have the prompt here, and simply we will return one div with the prompt, and we will add some Tailwind classes here as well. Text to alto, text size will be SM, and font medium, and also we have to give here the key, so we will use the index as key. Now let's see this in action. Now here what I will do, I will close this console and I will write what is JavaScript. If I click this send, then you can see we have this what is JavaScript prompt here. Also first let's give some margin top, so I will add margin top to 2. Yes, now if I search what is React, so you can see we have what is React. Let's search anything, and I will add bunch of prompts here to show the scroll part. Now you can see we have these prompts, and now we can scroll. We will define this class no scroll bar so that the scroll bar will be hidden. So let's go back to our code. I will go to global CSS, and here in layer I will add the class no scroll bar, and first I will add scroll bar width to none. Now let's check. So you can see if I am scrolling, then the scroll bar is now hidden because we have set the width to none. Now let's create the chat section part. I will ask something here. Let's say I will say hello. Then you can see Gemini have came with the response, hello, how can I help you today? But with ChatGPT and DeepSeek we got nothing. So if we check, let's check in the network tab. So first the API call goes to Gemini. You can see in the header we are calling this Google APIs, and if we go in the payload, then in the payload we are passing this hello text, and in the response you can see if I go in the candidates, then index 0, then in the content, then in parts, then again in index 0, and in text you can see we got the response, hello, how can I help you today? But if I go to this one, this is the API call going to OpenAI, and if I check the payload, then we are getting the input and we are using the model GPT-5, but here we are not getting any response. Let's check another one. Yeah, so this is the DeepSeek. You can see we are calling the DeepSeek API, and in the payload we are passing our content and we are using the DeepSeek chat model here, and in preview means response you can see we are getting this error, invalid request error, and the message is insufficient balance because for my API key I have expired all the credits. So it will work for you if you have the credits, but currently I have expired all the DeepSeek credits. Now if I check this API call, again we got nothing here. Let's check this one. Yeah, so we got something here. So again this one is the OpenAI, like OpenAI have tried to call 2-3 times. So here on the last one we are getting some error, the same error as DeepSeek, insufficient quota, means we have to add credits in our billing details. So that's why currently we got only response from Gemini and not from DeepSeek and ChatGPT. In Gemini I have the credits, but I have expired all the credits for ChatGPT and DeepSeek. We will integrate all the API. For showing purpose I will use the Gemini because I have the credits here. If you create account in ChatGPT or DeepSeek, then you will have the credits, or you can add the credit card to buy credits. Now first let's create this chat section UI. Like you can see we have here the icon, the prompt, and the response. If you remember, when I sent the prompt, first we got the loader, and after the response, after the API successfully executed means failed or succeed, then we got this UI with the icon and the response. Let's try with one more prompt. Let's say if I ask what is JavaScript, let's say, so you can see the loader is spinning, and let's wait for some time. Yeah, you can see we got this all long response for what is JavaScript. If you want, you can read it from here. Like JavaScript is a high level of just-in-type compiled programming language that conforms to ECMAScript specification. So here we got the response, and also we are going to use React Markdown to show this response in this structured manner. Will become very easy for user to read this. Let's build the UI first, and then we will integrate the API. And I will also show you how to create the API key for all of this model. Now let's go back to our application, and here let's go to VS Code and let's go to chat with input. So first thing what I will do, I will take this state and I will declare the state here. I will come back to this later why I have done this. I will move this state to here, and from the props I will pass user text and set user text. Let's go to chat input, and from here we will have the user text in props and set user text. So in the UI or by functionality wise nothing is changed, just we have moved the state variable from chat input to its parent component. Now let's focus on building the chat section part. Let's create one span and let's say hello world, and let's see how this is looking. So you can see we have the hello world here. First here I will create one div, and let's see first what we have to do. First we have to create this icon and the prompt. So for this icon I have already have the icon for user. So I will import user icon from public/user.svg, and in this div I will create one image, and in source I will pass this user icon. The width will be 16, height will be 16 pixel. Let's check the result. So yeah, we have the icon here. What we will do first, we will wrap this image inside a div, and we will give background color to white, rounded full, and width to 1 rem and height also 1 rem. Let's check. Let's increase the width and height. So let's give it 2 rem. Yeah, I think 2 rem is perfect. Now let's make this icon to center. So for this we will use flex, item center, justify center. Let's check. Yeah, we have the icon in the middle. Now let's decrease the width little bit. Let's make it 6 so that it will be similar to our website. Let's increase to 7. Yeah, I think 7 is good. Now we will add this prompt title. So for this, again here after this div we'll take one span tag, and for demo purpose let's add one prompt, what is JavaScript, and the class will be text white, text sm. Yeah, what is JavaScript, and let's make this in the flex. So for this I will wrap this div, I will wrap this inside this div, and let's make this as flex, item center and justify center and gap of 2, and let's make this justify start. We don't want in center, we want in start. So yeah, now let's give some padding. You can see here we have some padding, so we will give the padding directly here, padding of 1 rem. Let's check. Yeah, it is looking good. Now let's create this part, the response part of the model. So for this let's go back to VS Code, and after this div we will create another div, and here we will just copy this icon, and in the source, as you know, we already have the image URL, means the model image we have already passing from the props. So we will use that image URL, and here in span tag let's write anything. So let's use lorem for this. So I will go to lorem. Here we have the lorem. Copy this paragraph, and in our app constant we will create one constant. Let's say dummy response, and I will paste this paragraph here, and let's export this, and I will simply put here the dummy response, and I will also increase this height and width to 32 pixel. Now let's check the result. So yeah, you can see here we have the lorem. Currently the text is black, that's why it's not clearly visible, but yeah, we have the icon, the model icon and the response. Now let's give the little bit CSS to this div as well. So I will write class name to text white, text sm, and for this div let's give this class flex and items center, justify start and gap of 2. Let's check. So yeah, here now you can see the icon got shrink, so I will give class to this image. So I will add the class here flex shrink to 0. Now let's check if this is working. Yeah, you can see now our image width and height is 32 pixel. Previously it was shrinking because of this span tag. Now what I will do, I will give this justify items to start and justify center, so that we have the icon in the start, not in the center. And I will also give some margin, and you can see here we have the margin. So I will give the margin top to 2. Now let's say 4, which is 1 rem. Let's give little bit more, let's give 8, 2 rem. Yes, 2 rem works. And now you can see we have created this UI, but we are going to use React Markdown npm. So we will go to this link and we will copy this command, and let's go back to VS Code and we will install this React Markdown package in our code. We have installed the package. Now let's try. I will import React Markdown from React Markdown, and I will copy this and I will wrap this response inside React Markdown. Let's remove this class and let's wrap this React Markdown inside div. Let's check. We have to set some CSS. Let's add some CSS. So text white and text sm. Yeah, we have this response. You can see there is no change in the UI, but when we get the response from the model, then I will show you why we have used this React Markdown. Now let's move forward. So first what we are going to do, first we will get all the API key for Gemini, for DeepSeek and for ChatGPT. So let's start with the Gemini. To create Gemini API key, we will go to this website ai.google.dev. Simply go to this website ai.google.dev and sign in. I have successfully signed in, and click here explore models in Google AI Studio and click here get API key. Now you can see I have already created the API key with the project name Gemini API. So to create the API key, just simply click here create API key, select a project from your existing Google Cloud project. So here let's say I will add this one and just click this button API key in existing project, and after you will have the API key display, then first make sure to copy the API key and then click done, because if the model is closed then you can't see API key again. So make sure to copy that API key, and then what we will do, let's go back to our code, and here what we are going to do first is we will create one env file. We will create this .env file and we will store our API key here. We will not directly expose the API key in our code. We will use the env variables for the API key. Here I will write next public Gemini API key equals to, and then here simply paste your API key. Then save this file and first make sure to kill this terminal and restart the server, because if anything is changed in env, then after that we have to restart the server. Now let's create the OpenAI API key. So for that, visit platform.openai.com. And if you are not signed in, then first sign in, then you will redirect to this page. Then from here, go to dashboard and then go here API keys, and then simply create new secret key, give some key name. Let's say I will give AI project. The project is default project, and then click the create secret key. So I will not do this because I have already created the API key which is I am going to use. So simply create your secret key and then again copy that API key, and let's go back to our code and create another variable here, next public ChatGPT API key, and then paste your API key here which you have copied. Now let's move forward and now let's create the API key for DeepSeek. So I will search DeepSeek API key and then go to this first link, and from here go to this API key, apply for an API key, and I will sign in with Google. After you have signed in, you will redirect to this dashboard. Then go to API keys and then create a new API key. So I will name this as AI project. After you have created the API key, then make sure to copy this API key, and let's go to our code, and here I will create another env variable, next public DeepSeek API key, and after equals paste your API key here. After this, if you go here in the uses, then you can see the balance alert. Currently I don't have any balance, so what you can do, go to top up and you can top up minimum $2 from PayPal, debit card or credit card, or you can use MasterCard. And also if you have some balance, then you don't have to top up. So make sure you have some balance for DeepSeek, for ChatGPT and for Gemini. Created all the API keys for our models. Then first thing what we will do, I will kill this terminal, and first thing I will run the project again. And let's go back to our project and simply reload. You can see we are getting some errors because of the alternate tags. So let's quickly fix this. So alt, this is the model icon, this is user icon. Now the error is gone. Let's go back to our component, chat input component, and I will close this package as well as the app constants. Here we have our chat input component. I will remove this import statement, and then here what we are going to do, I can integrate all the APIs here as well, like in this chat input component, as we are following best practices. Then what I will do, in the app folder I will create another folder, services, and then here I will create another file, model.services.js. Here we are going to integrate all the service. So first what I will do, first I will create one function, handle fetch Gemini response. Then let's create another method, handle fetch ChatGPT response. Let's create another for DeepSeek, handle DeepSeek response, and I will export all these function, handle fetch Gemini, ChatGPT and DeepSeek. And first thing first is I will call all this method in the chat input. So here I will call handle ChatGPT response, then handle Gemini response and handle DeepSeek response. First I will call Gemini, then ChatGPT and then DeepSeek. If we go to chat section, so currently we have hard coded the prompt. So here we are going to use user text, and where this user text is coming from, it will come from these props, and we are going to pass this user text to every other chat section. Copy and paste for all the chat section. Now you know why we have moved this user text from our chat input to chat with input, so that if we type anything in the input box, then that message or prompt will be available inside our chat section. Now let's go back and let's check if this is working. Let's reload and let's ask what is JavaScript. Now you can see as I am typing, it is also like typing here. So let's fix this quickly. To fix this, we have to move this text to chat input again. Why I am moving this again, I will tell you. First let's do this. So user text, then here in the chat with input, here I will create another state, prompt text set prompt text equals to use state and empty string. I will pass this setter to chat input, and in chat input we will have this set prompt text. What we are going to do here, if the user clicked the send button, then as you know this method is called. So I will write here set prompt text user text, and then here in chat with input we will pass this prompt text here for all the chat section. Then let's go to chat section, this with prompt text, and we will use the prompt text here. Now let's check if that bug is solved or not. Yeah, so we are getting this error, use state is not defined for chat input. Let's fix this. So use state is not defined here. Let's import this use state from React. Now if I type what is JavaScript, then you can see it is not typing here, and if I click send, then we have this prompt here. So yeah, we want this behavior. Now let's also fix this response. So to fix this response, first what we will do, first in our app.constants we are using this dummy response in our chat section. I will remove this response, and here the model response will come, let it be empty. And in our chat with input component, here we are going to create another state. So we are going to create model response set model response equals to use state, and we will declare one object, and we will write ChatGPT response. Initially it will be empty, then Gemini response and DeepSeek response. And we are going to create one more state variable, which is model loading. Set model loading. We will use this state variable to track the loading state of the API calls. So ChatGPT loading, initially it will be false, then Gemini loading false, and DeepSeek loading false. And we will pass this model response and model loading to all the chat section. ChatGPT response will be, as you know, model response dot ChatGPT response. Then for Gemini response is model response dot Gemini response, and then we have the DeepSeek response to model response dot DeepSeek response. And then we will also pass the loading state. Why I am passing all of this state here, because in chat section we have to show the spinner if the API call is executing, and also we have to show the response. Then that's why I am passing all of this state variable to chat section. Now I will pass loading to model loading dot ChatGPT loading. I will copy this, just change to Gemini loading, and DeepSeek loading. So we have done one mistake here. I have the prop name different for every other component, but we have to make it same for other component as well, because we are not created 3 components, we have only have single components which we are using. So let's name it as model message, and I will replace all of this with model message. Then let's go back to our chat section component, and we will have the model message and the loading. And as you know, I am going to pass this model message to React Markdown, so that this React Markdown will show the response of the models. Now let's go back to this chat input, and first we are going to implement the Gemini. So let's go back to our service folder. Here in the handle fetch Gemini response, first we will have the try and catch block, so that we can catch there is any error. Then in try, first what we are going to do, first let's go to app.constants, and here we will create one const fetch Gemini, and I will paste this link. This is the endpoint which we are going to hit for Gemini. Export the fetch Gemini const response equals to, first let's make this function as async, because here we are going to use await fetch Gemini. So this is the endpoint we are going to hit, and this will be a post request. Post in headers we will pass the content type to application /JSON. Then in here we have to pass the API key. To do this, we have this xgoog-API key process.env.next public Gemini API key. So as you know, we have defined our API key in .env file, so we will access that API key like this. In the body we have to pass the text. So first we will receive the prompt here, so let's name it prompt. Then in body we will write json.stringify, open the object, then write contents, then again open array, then open the object. Here we have to write parts, then again open one array, then object, and just write text as the prompt. This is the structure in which we have to pass the body to call the Gemini API. After this response, we will get our data. We will convert that response to JSON, and then we will simply return that data. And if there is some error, then we will log that error, Gemini API failed, and here we have the error. Now let's call this function in our chat input. So here you can see we have already called this function, but we are not going to call like this. We will have the handler for every model. So I will write handle Gemini response, which will be a async function, and then I will move this method to here. Then I will write const Gemini response equals to await and this function call, and now I will print this response Gemini response. Let's comment this ChatGPT and DeepSeek response and call this Gemini function. Now let's check if this is working or not. Currently you can see our icon is coming in center. So first let's fix this. So in chat section, here we have the justify center. Now let's remove, and you can see it is fixed. Now open the console and I will write here hello. I will click send. Yeah, you can see we have got this error. Our API call failed for Gemini because we have done one mistake here, like we have not closed the headers. Let's close this header and remove this curly bracket. And now let's check. I will just send this prompt, send. Now you can see our API call got the response. The status code is 200, okay. And if we go in payload, then you can see we are passing the content as text hello, and in preview here we have the response. Hello, how can I help you today? Also if we check in the console, then here we have our response. So you can see we have successfully implemented the Gemini API, and now let's show this response here. To do this, I will go back to VS Code, and then in our chat section, let's remove this dummy response. Here we have the model message. So why this model message have not shown? I think because in the chat input we have to set the model message, because here we are getting the response, so that we have to set the model message from here. So for that, let's go to chat with input, and I will pass this set model response in chat input. Then in chat input, set model response, and I will set the model response to return previous, and we will set the Gemini response to this response. Let's extract the response. So data equals to Gemini response, and you can see we have to go in the candidates first, then dot candidates, then of 0, then in the content dot parts, then content dot parts, then of in the index 0 dot text, of 0 dot text. And let's set this data here. Let's remove this console, and let's check if our response is coming on the chat section. So again here I will ask hello. If I send, then you can see we have the hello and we have the response. Now let's try with another prompt. What is JavaScript? Here you can see we got this response, but currently the UI is messed up. Like you can see we can't scroll or see the entire response. So first let's fix this. Here I will set the height to 35 rem, then no scroll bar. As you know, we have created this no scroll bar class inside the global CSS, then overflow y to scroll. It can scroll if the contents exceed this height. Now let's check. We have the scroll bar. Yeah, I think it's looking good. So let's give some gap between this content. So to do this, I have this class. First I will wrap this React markdown inside div, and I will add this class. So this class is nothing, but we are targeting the UL and H1 and order list inside the DOM and giving some margin. So now let's check, and let's ask again, what is JavaScript? Send. Let's wait for some time. Now you can see we have some gap here. See, if I comment this div, then you can see we don't have any space. Like after core characteristics we don't have any gap. So now if I uncomment this div, then you can see here we have gap. Now we have another UI issue. We don't want to show this icon until there is a prompt or the model response. So let's handle this part. What I will do, I will check if the model message is there, then show this image, else null. Now you can see that icon is no more here. And let's do this same for prompt text and this icon. Here if the user text, prompt text is there, then we'll have this div, else we will return null. Now let's check. Yes. Now let's ask something. Let's say hello. Icon and the prompt is appeared, and then after the response we have this icon and response. One more thing we have to do is we have to add the loading. Here you can see if I ask, let's say if I do hello, then you can see we have the loader, and then the loader disappears. Here you can see we don't get any response. Here the API call is failed, but the motive is to show the loading. So let's implement this feature in our app. So let's go back to our VS Code, and for loading again we are going to use the Shadcn spinner. We'll use this spinner. We are going to use this spinner. If I go here in npm and let's copy this command, and we'll install this component in our code. Enter. So this will install this spinner component in our components folder. So again we have the components folder, and from here you know what we are going to do. We will just copy this code, delete this folder, then here in the UI we'll create another file, spinner.jsx, and simply paste that code. Now let's close this terminal, and we are going to use that spinner here. Let's call that spinner and let's see how it is looking. You can see here we have this spinner. Let's add some class. So I will add the class name to text white. Let's see. Yeah, I think it is looking good, but we don't want this spinner here. We want here below this prompt. Here we have wrapped this span tag and spinner inside this div, and we have given the class flex and flex call. Let's check. Yeah, I think it is good now. Now we are not going to show the loading like this. If we don't get any response or the API call is happening, then we will show the loading, else we will not show the loading. Again we will go to this chat input component, and here we have to do that logic. Before, let's go to chat with input, and we'll pass this model loading, set model loading to chat input. And here we will receive the set model loading. On handle Gemini response, I will set the model loading. Here I will return previous, and then Gemini loading to true. Then after we got the response, we set the model response, then I will make this Gemini loading to false. Here you can see we have the loading. In chat section, here we will add the condition. So we'll add if it is loading, then show the spinner, else null. And we are getting this loading from props which we have passed from chat with input. Now let's check. Let's reload. Let's again try hello, and yeah, it is loading. After the response, you can see the spinner is gone. Let's try with another prompt. Let's try what is CSS. Let's customize this prompt. What is CSS in 1 line or 2 line. Let's click send. Our request is sent, and now you can see we got the response. CSS cascading style sheet is a style sheet language used to control the presentation of HTML documents. You can see our loading state is also working, and the response message, all of these are working now. Now let's check one base condition. Like suppose if I close this Gemini, and if I ask again this CSS in 1 line, and if I send, and then let's open this Gemini, you can see here we got the prompt and response, but the Gemini was closed. So let's handle this case also. If the user have closed the model, then we will not do the API call for the closed models. In chat input, here what we will check, here simply we will do if. Before adding if, let's go to chat with input, and we have to pass this model visible to chat input component, so that we will know if the model is closed or open. Then again we will go here, model visible, and we will check model visible dot Gemini. Let's check the name, model visible, yeah, Gemini. So model visible dot Gemini, if it is false, then we will simply return. Here what we are doing, let's save this file. We are checking if the model is closed, means if the model is switched off, means user have closed that chat section, then we will not do the API call. Now let's check this. If I close and let's say hello, you can see we have the hello in the prompt, but we have not done any API call. You can see the response was previous response. This CSS is a language used to style the visual presentation. So we are not doing API calls for the closed chat section. Now let's move forward and let's also implement API for ChatGPT and for DeepSeek. First, we have to install the OpenAI package. So we will write npm install OpenAI. Then we have installed the OpenAI package. Then here in the chat input, first we have to create the client. So client equals to new OpenAI from OpenAI, and here first we have to pass the API key. Then dangerously allow browser to true. Why we are doing this? So that we can do the request from client side, means from browser. Then we will use this client to do our OpenAI calls. And in API key, I will do this process.env.next public ChatGPT API key. So make sure to pass your API key as well. Then let's close this handle Gemini response. Let's create another method, handle ChatGPT response async arrow function. Then let's open this so that we can check what we were doing in Gemini. So first what we have to do, first we will check if the model visible dot ChatGPT. If it is not visible, then simply return. We are not going to call the API. Else what we will do, set model loading to return previous state, and we will do chat GPT loading to true. Then we will call the API just like this. So we will do chat GPT response to await. We have this method handle fetch chat GPT response. We'll call this with the user text, and let's remove from here. And after this, first let's create our handle fetch chat GPT response. Here what we will do, first let's remove this console, and here we'll write our service for GPT. Before this we have to move this client to our service folder. We'll create the client here and import statement here, and then what we will write, we will write const response equals to await. First let's take the prompt, then we will write client dot responses dot create. In this object here, first we will pass the model GPT-5. We are going to use the chat GPT-5. Then the input will be prompt. Let's make this async function, and then we'll simply return the response. Now let's use this chat GPT response, but as you know, currently my credits is expired, so I will not able to show you the response. But instead of returning the response, here what I will write, response data equals to this, and let's rename this to completion, and then we can return this response data. Like in Gemini, here if you go in chat input, we have the response in the content. First we go to candidates, then content, then parts. So same here, we have to dive into choices, then array of index of 0 dot message, and then dot content. Then we can use this response in our chat input. So here what we will do, we will get the chat GPT response, then we will set model response return previous, and let's check the name. I think, yeah, chat GPT response to this chat GPT response. let's rename this to response. And you can see here we have doing the loading to true, so let's make this now false. So what we are doing, first we are checking if the model is closed, then we are returning, else we are doing the ChatGPT loading to true, and then we are calling our service, and this service will return the response which we are going to set in the model response in ChatGPT response, and then loading to false. Now let's call this handler here. Let's check what is happening now. I will first reload, open the network tab. I will simply say hello. Let's click send. You can see Gemini came with the response, but now ChatGPT is loading, and I think the API call failed, and you can see the same error, insufficient quota. But here is the thing, the loading is not getting false. Let's check. So we have done the ChatGPT loading to false and here to true, and why it's not working? So here we have to add this handler inside try and catch block. Try and catch. I will move this part inside try. This is the success part, and inside catch, if the our API call fails, then we will do the ChatGPT loading to false. Now let's check. Hello. Let's open the network tab. I will open the network tab and send hello. Now you can see we got the Gemini response. The loader is gone because it sent the error insufficient quota. You exceeded your current quota, please check your plan and billing details. So I don't have credits, so that's why we got this message. But if you have the credits, you can check in the platform, then it will get the response, and that response will be shown here. Implement now DeepSeek. So it will be straightforward for DeepSeek because the DeepSeek uses the OpenAI NPM, so it will be straightforward. Now let's go to here handle DeepSeek. So I will write, let's name it handle DeepSeek response, and let's rename this to handle fetch DeepSeek response, and here we are going to call our API. First let's add these params prompt, and then again we have to create the client. Const OpenAI equals to new OpenAI, and then we'll pass the API key here, and before API key let's pass the base URL. So we'll define this base URL in our app constants, and then dangerously allow browser to true. Now let's go to app.constants, and here fetch DeepSeek to this endpoint. We are going to call this endpoint for DeepSeek. Export, then let's go to service folder, and here I will pass the base URL to DeepSeek, and the API key will be process.env. Let's copy this, paste, and just replace this ChatGPT with DeepSeek API key. So here what I am doing, I am using this client means OpenAI.chat.completions, and I am creating one completion. Here you have to pass the role, the system role, and the content to prompt, and the model we are going to use is DeepSeek chat. Then like this, we got the response in the completion. Then it is same here because it is using the OpenAI package. So completion.choices.message.content, and simply return this response, return this data. Let's make it response data. I will use this handler in the chat input. Here first let's make this function as async. First what we have to do, let's check if model visible dot DeepSeek. If it is not visible, then simply return, else try and catch. First let's take care of the catch block. So we will do set model loading to DeepSeek loading to false, and in try let's copy this and we will do loading to true. Then what we have to do, we have to just call the API and set the response. So const response equals to await handle DeepSeek handle fetch DeepSeek response will pass user text. Then what we have to do, we have to just set the model response. So set model response, return this object previous state DeepSeek response to this response. Let's verify the name. I think ChatGPT response, DeepSeek's response. Call this handle DeepSeek response. Now let's check if this is working or not. So again I will reload the page and I will say hello, send. Now you can see the DeepSeek response is also failed. If you go in the headers, this is the OpenAI response and you can see here we have the DeepSeek and you can see it is giving the status code 402 payment required. If we go to preview, then you can see the insufficient balance message as I have shown you previously for this project. Now if I let's say what is JavaScript, then let's check if the loading state and everything is working fine or not. If I say hello, yeah, you can see it is loading, then the loading is gone. So this is loading because it is loading the response and we have the response for Gemini, but for ChatGPT and for DeepSeek we have to add the credits. Now you can see we have successfully implemented all the models, ChatGPT, Gemini and DeepSeek. That's it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed building this project and learned a lot. And don't forget to check out frontendlab.io. If you want to build more real world projects, frontendlab.io, in the project section you can see here we have the full stack chat app, SQL query web app. You can pick any of this project and you will have all the resources like Figma design, community support, and also you can submit the project in Frontend Lab. Here by building the real world project you will learn and you can add the project in your portfolio as well. If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to this channel and I will meet you in the next video.